Oakaazdoreyth, a Skyrim mod, Part 4. Hey again, everyone. Things aren't going great, and without getting too much into it right now, it is best just to fill you in on the past couple of days. Sleep is now but a fleeting memory. My paranoia has increased to the point that my wife took our girls to her sister's for a while, until you can, quote-unquote, pull yourself together and be the man you was just a couple of weeks ago. Or at the very least, tell me what's going on with you, were the last phrases she spoke to me. Too tired to remember in what order. If you're confused at this point, you probably need to catch up, and you can do that by clicking which part you need below. Picking up where I last left off, I had reached a limit to how much all of this I could take, or so I thought anyway. My wife had left for work and my children at school. I had called in sick to work after the things I had seen earlier that morning. Determined to find out how to end this and finish it one way or the other, I had locked the front door, silenced my cell phone, and loaded up Skyrim. I quickly found myself exactly where I remembered, just outside the city limits of Oakaazdoreyth. The fog just as dense as the forest and just seemingly infinite. My plan is simple. Made out of this fucking forest and hopefully delete this godforsaken mod. I begin making my walk on the path just to the southwest of Oakaazdoreyth, and have just passed the fork to either take me up and around Helgen, which is the east path, or I can take the path that would take me north and eventually into either Whiterun Hold or the Reach. Though there are several paths I could take that would get me out of the hold, I feel that the north path is my quickest, least riskiest choice. So I begin walking again the past fork and continue north. As I am walking, I notice that the whispering had at some point began again, only I hadn't noticed when it had started. It prompts me to do a quick light detect shot to see if I am being followed. Looking around and seeing the same thing in every direction, just trees and fog. I'm satisfied that I do not see any pink mists that tell me something is near, and again continue walking. I eventually come to another fork in the path. The path on the right takes me east close by a lake that sits nestled into the northwest part of Oakaazdoreyth. Both paths go around the lake, but the right paths get right up next to it. And I don't want to think about seeing anything coming out of the lake, so I take the left path that keeps me going north. Along the way, the whispering had been dulled to almost being non-existent. I looked around. To the left, more fog and trees. To the right, more fog and trees, and behind me, more fog and trees, and my companion Lydia. We started walking again, coming to another fork in the path. This fork shouldn't be here. We shouldn't have come to another fork until we were almost out of the hold. We just left the last fork maybe less than 500 steps ago. The odd thing about this new fork is that they both branch to the north, as if they parallel each other. And keep in mind, the fog is incredibly dense, so I can see maybe 15 steps in front of me, and that might be generous. I used the light detect shout again to see if maybe something was there that shouldn't be on either one of the paths. Before I could, Lydia made a battle cry and lurched forward into the path on the left, clearly to battle something, but it was strange as I wasn't under attack. I pull out my enchanted dragon bone war axes and take a step forward to aid my companion in whatever battle she was fighting. But then I realized something before I could make another step. I never brought a companion with me, and the last companion that I ever had with me was Serana, the vampire chick from the Dawnguard DLC. I hadn't left her at my hearth, and Lydia was at my home in Whiterun. Given that I believe I was about to be lured off the path, I instead take the path on the right. I keep my axes out, just in case Lydia shows back up. I only make it about 30 to 40 steps up the path when I hear screaming and emanating all around me. With the fog as dense as it is, I used my light detect shot to see where the threat was coming from. I was not expecting to see that just to both sides of me, as far as I could make out, was full of pink, misty shapes, too many to count. They were all just standing there beyond the fog and the tree line. Just as light detect was fading, I had to take a look behind me. I see that one of these fading pink mists were on the path coming towards me. Shuffling in my direction, something was on the path behind me. Just as I was going to use my detect life shot again, it was coming into view. It was Lydia. She stopped just at the edge of visibility, probably 15 to 30 steps away. Her head was crooked to one side, and her arms were longer than before, and stretched just beyond her knees. At which I noticed her legs. They were bent as if broken and twisted. We stood there for a moment just looking at each other. I put my axes away because at this point, I really don't think they will be of any use. The moment my character moved to put away the weapons, Lydia's mouth opened with a scream. Her jaw, face, and chin stretched downward as her mouth grew larger. Her arms flailed outward as she spun on all fours and rushed toward me. I turned and sprinted in the opposite direction. I must have pissed off the mod when I didn't take the bait that was intended to lure me off the path. Sprinting up the path, I could hear Lydia screaming as she gave chase. As the thought occurred to me while I was making my escape, what if this is another tactic to make me make a mistake and run off the path? They had never been physically hostile before, and the path should be safe. That is why they lure. Even when I saw something similar in the waking nightmare I had, it never hurt me, only scared me. So, I made the decision and stopped and turned around. Lydia closed the gap fast, and before I knew it, she was in my character's face, screaming in her overly stretched mouth, looking at me with her black, hollow eyes. It was as if she was looking beyond my character, through the screen, and directly at me. She backed away and slithered backwards at the edge of visibility. We looked at each other a moment longer, and as I stood my ground, the screaming stopped. Lydia scurried into the forest and out of sight. It was the last time I would ever see her in the game. The forest was silent after that, and the detect life shot confirmed that I was alone again, or at the very least, out of any immediate danger. I put my controller down for a moment for a much-needed break. I happened to glance down and noticed that my phone had a message via the red blinking light at the top of the phone when I was asleep. I checked my phone and it was worse than I thought. 10 missed calls from my wife and 5 text messages. I was in trouble. I decided to read the text first. Hey, hon, is there any way you can leave work for a bit and go get Lily from school and take her to your mom's until I get off? Hey, why aren't you answering? Are you busy? Give me a call, please. Lily is sick at school. What the fuck is going on? I had called work and you weren't there. They say you called in sick? Where in the hell are you? I have Lily with me and you have not called or texted me back. You have some serious explaining to do and I mean it. I am pissed. Your mom hasn't heard from you either and I'm beginning to get worried. You've been acting so strange the last few days. You better have a good explanation for this. I am on my way home now. Before I could close the text completely, there was a loud bang at the front door. It had opened hard and caught by the chain that I had latched before I started playing. I rushed over to the door to unlatch it. All the while my wife is making undiscernible remarks. I hear a few foul words and there every now and then. I unlatched the door and immediately apologized. Babe, I'm so sorry. I just got all the texts. My phone was somehow turned off. Must have happened when I called in to work. After you left, my stomach was upset and I vomited. Is Lily okay? I let it all out so fast I didn't even know I was lying out of my teeth. Why was the door locked and latched? She yelled, but it was clear she was buying what I was selling. Out of habit, you know how it is, you do it all the time. I explained, taking her coat, trying to get a better read on her. How is Lily? We might have the same thing, I suggested. She seems fine for now, but she has an appointment at the clinic tomorrow morning, she said, her tone clearly level now. It worked. Bullet dodged. She leaned in to give me a hug. I was so worried about you, she added, coming in closer. I was able to pull my arms up to embrace her, and everything was all right. But then, out of the corner of my eye, in our living room behind my wife, stood Lydia. The words slipped out of my mouth before I even realized what I had done. Lydia? The bullet I thought I had just dodged just hit me as my wife's embracing hug became more of a shove. Who the hell is Lydia? The look on her face questioned me was almost as scary as the creatures in the mod. Did you have another woman in the house? The question was hurtful, even to me. She knew I would never do anything like that. To her or our children. Absolutely not. Amy, it's a character from Skyrim, the companion in Whiterun. That I failed to mention that my wife was a gamer as well. It's how we met. At a Halo LAN party in high school. I thought now would be a good time to come clean. Listen, I've been acting weird lately because a mod I downloaded a few days ago for Skyrim. I don't think she took it well. Has this all been about a game? She looked somewhere between perplexed and irritated. I have been worried about you all week, and you're telling me you have been acting strange because of a game? wasn't able to see her face at this moment because I was looking at Lydia again. Somehow, in some way, the character from the game was standing in my living room. Ben, are you even listening to me? My wife was barely audible, as my entire focus was on the impossible visage standing in my living room. Before I had a chance to ask my wife if she could see her as well, Lydia's face changed to the horrifying image I had become too accustomed with and lunged at my wife and I. I shoved my wife out of the way, and as she lands flat on the love seat in our living room, I go to take the brunt of Lydia's force, only she disappeared into a foggy mist before she could reach me. "Where the hell did you go, you bitch?" I screamed out into the thin air, my fist clenched tight as I looked around. "What the hell is wrong with you, Ben? That hurt." My wife had gotten up and pulled me toward her. She was livid, to say the least. The last few things I remember is at this point was my wife explaining that she was taking the kids to her sister's for a couple of days until I could pull myself together. I watched in silence as she got things together and for her and the kids. When she went to leave, she looked back at me one last time and said in the earnest voice, "I hope you figure this out soon. Whenever you're going through, we can't be here for it. It's not safe for the girls. Please don't call until you're sure you are back to normal." With that, the door closed, and I sat on the couch for the next hour going over every event that led me to my predicament. As I sat there going over the events that just happened, I noticed that the little red light on my phone was blinking. I had a notification from Reddit, a private message. Looking for any distraction to take my mind off the replay button I kept hitting in my brain, I opened the message. It's from a user who requested he/she had been left anonymous. They told me to take a closer look at the name of the mod, Oakaazdoreyth, and asked me if anything looked familiar. I looked at the word a few moments and facepalmed myself. Oakaazdoreyth. It's deja vu, the language of the dragons in the game. I went immediately to Google to translate it, and of course there's a Google Translate for deja vu. The phrase translates to Sea of Trees. I messaged the user back a few moments and later they responded. That's what I concluded as well. You need to look into the Sea of Trees. I already have, and if you're experiencing is real, you best read it for yourself. I hope this helps. Taking the user's advice, I take to Google once more and look up the Sea of Trees. A few links later, for a bad Matthew McConaughey movie pops up, according to the Rotten Tomatoes anyhow, but the movie description gives me what I'm looking for. The movie takes place in Japan's Aokigahara Forest, otherwise known as the Sea of Trees, and it even has another notorious name, the Suicide Forest. I then look up from the forest to find Japan's official site for the forest and immediately know that what I found I was looking for. The site gives quotes taken from warning signs that are posted in the forest. One of these signs being, "Your life is something precious that was given to you." The exact beginning of the warning description in the mod. The warning goes on to say, "Given to you by your parents, mediate on your parents and siblings and or children. Once more, do not be troubled alone." It all suddenly made sense, but it may have been too late. I had done exactly what the mod wanted me to do. Isolate myself, making me easy prey, and I suddenly fell into this trap. The dreams and the waking nightmares, the whispering, the hallucinations, all just a ploy to push those who could have helped me away. I did actually start to have a sickening feeling creeping to my stomach. It's in-game. The whole ploy is to make me kill myself. What a sick, sadistic, twisted thing to do someone. No, this isn't going to happen. If it wants me dead, it'll have to get its hands dirty. I am stronger, and I think the game knows it. That's why it's going through such lengths to get me by myself. To make me make mistakes. Now I know its game. I know its rules. I'm going to get out of this forest one way or another.